A Healthcare's Moral Obligation, Discussion of Appointing, Hiring, and the Discipline of Physicians by Lori C. Paulin, Wilmington University, HCA 7740. Doctor Credentials Appointment and Discipline Discussion. Credentialing is a process used to evaluate the qualifications and practice history of a doctor. Process includes a review of a doctor's completed education, training, residency, and licenses. It also includes any certifications issued by a board in the doctor's area of specialty. Major accrediting organizations include the National Committee for Quality Assurance, NCQA, and the Joint Commission. These independent, nonprofit organizations set quality standards for healthcare companies, credentialing organizations, and hospitals. Additionally, in order for a medical profession or physician to practice in a different area, it's required for them to get additional credentials. Why are credentials important? Not only does it protect the patient, but the healthcare organization that the doctor or medical professional will be working for. The healthcare organization has a moral and ethical responsibility not only to protect and prevent harm to their patients, but to their healthcare organization's reputation and the community it supports. Their credentials prove that the medical professional is trained and are capable of doing their work. Credentials are mandatory and involves a process which includes the combination of the formal education, medical school, graduate school training, and then pass a licensing exam. If the medical professional does not pass the licensing exam to move on to the hands-on training, then patients know the physician isn't capable to treat them. Beyond licensing and to practice in specific areas, the medical professional must be trained in equipment or board certified for surgery. If the medical professional passes all requirements, then the patients know the physician is capable of treatment and diagnosis. Healthcare organizations should pre-check a few things prior to hiring a physician. First, check to make sure the physician will fit into the healthcare's organization way of doing things. How friendly are they? Are they willing to learn on new machines or learn a different way towards a procedure? How is their interest in their patients? And what do their patients think of them? How well do they work with others? And what do their peers have to say about them? Second, how steady are they in their work experience? Have they stayed true to their patients and employer, or have they jumped from one hospital or healthcare organization to the next? This could be a sign of unreliability or bad work practice, malpractice suits being covered up, or overall issues in the workplace. Third, making sure their education matches the work history. If the education doesn't match the work experience, it also could suggest a problem. Lastly, check the physician's references and make sure they are solid with information, whether good or bad. Employing a physician is risky, and there's a lot at stake for the healthcare organization. The reputation and brand can be tarnished by disruptive, irresponsible, or unreliable physicians. It's important that the background checks are rigorous in addition to the screenings and hiring procedures which hopefully gives the right physician for the right healthcare organization. In regards to discipline, it's extremely important, as stated, to maintain the reputation of the healthcare organization, and any physician or medical professional involved in any activity that may jeopardize that should be brought for disciplinary action or review. It is also important that employers are educated on being aware of these kinds of situations from a coworker and how to report it without any repercussions for themselves. Medical professionals are bound to policy and procedure in practicing medicine, and at all times will be working with their peers in action whose behavior is not that of the policies to follow within the healthcare organization. When it comes to peer reviews, medical professionals should know that even though a conflict such as this may arise, they need to maintain a good working relationship with the peers and want to keep their jobs. If possible, intervene to prevent the harm or possible harm to the patient and discuss it with the colleague. Confrontation not in a condescending way, but letting them see what was observed, and if that doesn't work, know who you can turn to next, such as a manager, ethics committee, etc. Peer reviews are important, and are used, as we discussed, in many evaluations for a new job, new specialty, hospital transfers, or for patient information. They should be disclosed, however, with the exception to keep the peer's name off of it if they decide so. Having the right doctor fit into the right place is important in the peer evaluation or review. Details in regard to the Gosnell case that we went over state that since 1979, Kermit Gosnell was a doctor who ran an abortion clinic called the Women's Medical Society in West Philadelphia. He is not an obstetrician or gynecologist. He didn't complete the residency for it. At the clinic, which was open for 3 decades, patients were neglected, providers were not certified, and cats were allowed to roam free and defecate in the clinic, per the Washington Post of 2013. The details within the clinic were beyond disgusting, with old medical furniture and with corroded tubes for procedures. The legal abortion time frame in Pennsylvania is 24 weeks, and Gosnell performed abortions at 24.5 weeks, with most of them being further past that time frame, according to staff. If a child was unwanted post-birth, Gosnell's solution would be to kill them. Many wonder how this went on for so long, and how regulatory oversight happened, and how Gosnell hired staff that were not licensed or qualified. Gosnell didn't monitor the procedures fully, even botched surgeries, and wouldn't provide medical help for emergencies if needed. Most women had to go to another hospital or location for that, where doctors were treating them, and yet it was still not always reported. No inspection of Gosnell's facilities took place, and he was the only doctor at the practice with his approval expiring back in December of 1980. He was noted for violations in 1989, with promises to improve, and was given approval for another 12 months. Same thing occurred in 1993, and no further inspections for the clinic over the next 16 years. The health department did receive multiple complaints about the clinic, and even one from a doctor who said his patients were becoming infected with sexually transmitted diseases at Gosnell's clinic when they had abortions there. Washington Post, 2013. There was even a death in the clinic, and it didn't trigger further investigation with the State Department of Health. Finally, in 2010, the clinic was starting to get inspections for illegal drug prescription activity, which led to an FBI and PA Department of Health raid to the clinic that belonged to Gosnell. This led to Gosnell's medical license finally being suspended, and the case went before a grand jury in March of 2013. Gosnell was found to be guilty of murder and manslaughter, and the case led to a decision of the death penalty or life in prison. This case brings many policies to the forefront, such as stronger clinic regulation. My thoughts in regard to this case was, instead of offering an additional 12-month improvement period, Gosnell's clinic should have been shut down after the second inspections with no change from the first improvement period that he was allowed or allotted. From this case, it also made it possible that several states enacted measures to make sure that women going into these kind of clinics are treated in a safe and respectable manner. In addition, women should have access to these types of clinics, abortion if so chosen, in order to avoid getting treatment from a person who is not qualified. Women in these types of situations have a limited place to go, so it's important that we don't allow them to go just anywhere and be treated under such unsafe conditions. In addition, I am glad to have read that doctors were speaking up about their patients who they were treating that came from Gosnell's clinic. It assisted in keeping the clinic on the radar to the PA Department of Health. Otherwise, with no one speaking up, it could have not aroused more suspicions, which led to the final shutdown of the clinic.